gonna go live. Well, I am live, obviously. Gonna start working on this analysis in just a second. Just getting everything set up. Cool. Looks like I have all three streams going. I'm on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. Just check one thing, make sure everything is working. Yep, I can see. Awesome. I'm just gonna start in a minute or two, give folks a chance to join if they're interested. So, bear with me while I just give folks a minute. All right, cool. Looks like we have some people on. Excellent. Hello, everybody. And hey, Jordan. If you see me looking over the screen, I know I say this every time, but if anyone has not joined me in the past, got two screens here. I'll be working on my main screen that you're seeing here. I've got another screen over here. I can take a look at any comments coming in, anything like that, any feedback you have. I definitely do not claim to be the world's best R coder, so if you have ideas for how I might improve my work, I'd love to hear them. I am going to, just to give you a bit of background, so I run R for the Rest of Us, which helps folks learn R, and I've been thinking a lot about kind of how I can best serve my audience. So of course, the way to do this best is really by doing a survey of them. So I sent out this survey, just asked a few questions about their level of proficiency, if they've used R, how have they learned it. I'm also interested in how people like to learn R, why they like to learn in the way that they say they like to learn. What other types of things they've actually signed up for, because obviously I'm interested, it's great if people say, oh, I really like in-person workshops, but if they haven't actually signed up for in-person workshops, it's probably a pretty good indication that they're unlikely to do so, and I don't want to offer something that people aren't going to actually sign up for, of course. So I asked about that. And then I asked about a series of I'm thinking about developing kind of like mini courses or shorter courses on particular topics, so things like building a custom ggplot theme, a custom R Markdown template, etc. And I wanted to get a sense of whether or not these are things that people might be interested in. So that's that question, and then just kind of any other ways that I can support folks, and then people's email if they're interested in getting entered to win access to a free course. I have hidden. This is the Google Sheet where I have all my responses. You can see I've got a column hidden here. I'm not actually going to show people's emails in case people don't want those public, of course. But yeah, so basically I had this survey go out. I think I had 181 folks. Obviously I have some results here on Google Forms, but I'm going to just do them all in R to demonstrate that. Plus, I think there are ways that I want to see the results that are not going to be displayed here. So let me pop open RStudio. I briefly set this up beforehand so that I would be able to easily get rid of that email. So I'm just doing this in an R Markdown document. I am using 3 packages right now. I may add some more, but I am using Tidyverse. I'm using Google Sheets 4. This is actually the first time I've used this package. There's another Google Sheets package that I understand is being phased out because the API that it uses is being retired. So I use the Google Sheets 4, which is the new one. That allows me to read data in from Google Sheets. And then I'm using the janitor package, which if you've seen any work that I've done, you see I almost always use the clean names function. So just to, I'll just go ahead and run this code chunk. Pop this up. I don't actually need to because I have the data here, but I'm just going to act like I didn't. So once I've run that, you can see I have a data frame here that I'll be working with called survey results. All right. And so you can see this is an exact copy of the data from here. I have just dropped the last column, so I use the last call function. So after I did clean names just to make the variables easy to work with, and then I did select minus last call to get rid of that email column. So you're never gonna see that. Let me actually, I put introduction here, but let me actually change this. I'm gonna look at people's proficiency. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do to make this simpler? I'm just gonna copy the questions. All right. Oh, and I've made my output format this distill article. Distill. I just like the output of this package. I find that the HTML document just to be kind of boring, and so I like distill. It just looks nice. Obviously, this is just for me, but just to have something that's going to look decent is nice. All right. So I want to look at people's proficiency. So let me make a new code chunk here, and I'm thinking about survey results. So I gotta look at the name of that variable. So I'll just run the names function real quick, and this is the variable that I'm going to be working with. So I could first, if I just want to get the average, the mean proficiency level equals the mean of that. Let me run that, see if that works. Okay, I'm getting an NA. That is because I did not add na.rm equals true. So that what that means is there's likely a missing value there. So interesting. I have 3.9 is the mean proficiency level. I gave it to people. I had them fill it out on a 10-point scale from never used R to expert. That's actually really interesting because when I started this, I really thought it was mostly kind of total beginners. That's who I've really kind of pitched my materials to, but it seems like I'm actually getting folks who are a little further along now. Maybe they've gone through my courses, maybe they found me through other means. So let me actually show you kind of one thing I might do. Just make a mean proficiency. I'm going to actually now just pull. I'm going to use the pull function, which allows me to pull that variable. So you can see now I have a variable that's just mean proficiency. So I can write the mean proficiency is, and I'm now using what's called inline code. So now I can type mean proficiency. So now when I knit this, let me see, can I actually, remember if I can, no, I think there is a way. No, I can't remember. If I knit this, let me go ahead and knit this and see, oh, something is not right. Mean proficiency not found. That's odd. Because it is there. I'm going to come back to this. If folks have feedback about what I have done wrong here, that would be helpful. Oh, you know what? I'm going to actually... Oh, you know what? I had this... I think I know what it is. I copied this in from something else, and hold on. The setup code chunk was relying on something else. I'm gonna hide. I'm gonna do. So I'm adding in a setup code chunk. Yeah, this should work now. All right. So now you can see, for example, down here, the mean proficiency is 3.9. Yeah, thanks. I think that's Fabio. Thanks for your misspelled. I appreciate the feedback. It was, I think I actually figured out what it was. So I also saw, though, in this, I'm getting these messages here. So I'm just going to add up here, warning equals false, and message equals false. So now if I knit it again, I'm just hitting, by the way, Command-Shift-K to knit. It's a keyboard shortcut on a Mac to knit. That's weird. Still showing there. I'll have to figure out what's going on with that. Not a big deal, though. I just basically don't need that message there. Cool. So now I have the mean proficiency is mean proficiency. What if I want to see kind of the distribution of it? Hi, Fabio. So I could do this by just making a histogram. It'd be simple. So I'm going to use this variable again. Oh, well, I got to do ggplot and then geom histogram. Is this, wait, what am I doing? No. I got to add it in my aesthetics. Although it's not, that's not actually, it's just from 1 to 10. So actually a histogram is probably not going to be my best bet. So let's say I want to, let me just do a count of that. So if I just do those 2 lines, and then I can get a count of each of the variables. Yeah, this is going to actually work better. So now I'm going to use this, and I will do for my aesthetics, I'm going to do x equals the rating, and then the y equals n, and I'm going to change this to, I'm going to change it to geom call. So you can see now I have just a simple bar chart that shows how people rate their proficiency. Okay, I'm going to do just a couple things. Actually, I'm going to use, I like the HRBR themes package for my overall theme, and I'm going to use the theme set function to set the theme. I like the theme ipsum. So what that does now, when I run that line of code, theme set, is when I run it again, you can see now it just changes the overall look and feel. I'm going to do a couple things here. I'm going to do ScaleX Continuous. I don't like this. I mean, it should obviously, I'd like to see just the ratings for each one. Actually, let me try this. I have a better idea. So when I was at this point, when I just ran the count, that overall, how would you describe, is numeric. But if I make that, if I do as character, yeah, now, oh, actually, that is not working. Now what it's done is put them in alphabetical order, but because it's 1, 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., that's actually not what I want. So let me do, what is it, FCT in order? Is that, hold on. No, I'm trying to convert this into a factor. Level? No. I don't know why I always forget the, okay, Okay, I'm going to do it the simple way. So I'm just using the factor function wait, I need to make these. Fabio, I'm sure you actually could provide me some feedback here with using the forcats package, because I just always mess that up. So I'm actually typing these out manually, but what I've done now, that should work, yeah. This is actually a factor, and I'm setting the levels. In other words, I'm setting it so that it's in order. So now when I do ggplot, yeah, it is showing them in order from 1 through 10. I've got my NAs, that's fine. I'll just leave those. Those are people who didn't answer that. Just do a couple small things. I'll add some labels. So I don't need a label on the Y, so I'll just make that blank. Oh, that's interesting. Fabio had a comment. I'll actually try that in just a second. I'll put x equals rating. Let me try this. So Fabio suggests, I don't know if you mean that with the factor function, Fabio, or with some of the with the forcats package functions. But let me actually try this. If I do, so he suggested just doing 1 through 10 like that. So oh, perfect. That's so much easier. So all I've done here is I've said I've converted it to a factor and I've given the levels 1 through 10, but I've given them much simpler. Yeah. So now I can see kind of the distribution. It looks like there are a lot of people kind of at that 3, 2, not that many people. Actually, I might just put, oh, you know what I should put? I'm just going to do a brief introduction. So I conducted a survey of R for the rest of the audience. And let me actually calculate the number of respondents. So this will just basically be the same thing. I'm going to use the nRow function. So that looks for the number of rows of the survey respondents. So now I can just do that same inline code thing. So I have the number of people who responded. Let me just add actually text here. So I'm going to do geom_text. So the label equals n. What have I done wrong? Why is it not just using? Yeah, but I gave you label. Label equals n. Ooh, Emil has an idea. I'll actually try that while I'm futzing around with geom_text here. Let me copy this. Actually, I don't. Sorry, apologies, Emil. I don't know your gender, so I shouldn't use anything. So thank you for that. So let me try doing this. Whoops. Wait, did that work? Hold on. No, it's telling it must be a factor. So it looks like maybe I thought I didn't need to make it a factor first, but maybe I do. So maybe if I do overall as factor overall. No, looks like, oh, feel free to provide me feedback. I'm going to keep this one for now, just comment those out. Oh, thank you, Fabio. You just helped me figure out what my question was. For some silly reason, I was putting my AES in geom_call, which is not what I intended to do. I intended to have that in ggplot. So because it was in geom_call, it wasn't actually working for geom text, because geom text could not inherit the aesthetic properties from geom_call, because if you put aesthetic properties in geom_call, then it's only for that layer. So let me try this again. Wait, I think I'm missing. There we go. Cool. All right, so I have the numbers here. Let me just move them up a little bit. So I'll do v just equals 1. I can never remember. No. Oh, duh, I'm in the wrong one. So I put the numbers just above the bars using -1. So v just adjust it that way. I'm going to add, so it's clipping things here. So I'm going to do chord Cartesian, and I'll turn clip off. I don't think oof would work. So now anything that's on here will actually stay. Thanks, Fabio. No, I appreciate your feedback. You're not coming off as super smarty pants. I really appreciate your feedback. And I think you actually just wrote that the you make these mistakes all the time, and the pressure of being live while doing this feels nauseating to me just thinking about it. So yeah, totally. I like doing this because, again, I don't make any claims to be a super expert coder, but I have a decent amount of experience, and I think it's helpful for people to see that like everybody puts their aesthetic properties in the wrong place and then can't figure out what's going on. All right, so I have a decent sense now of kind of people's overall proficiency level. And Emil, if you have feedback on this, I'll come back to it. But I think for now, I have a decent sense. It's actually interesting to me. I'm seeing like some 6s, 7s. And that's actually great because like one thing I'm thinking about is, like I said before, in the past, I've always really focused on beginners, but I'm thinking about offering and even like partnering with some more expert folks to offer courses in more advanced areas. And it looks like there might be some folks in my audience for whom that would be actually useful. Cool. Let me look at the next question. So I'm interested in how people have learned R. So let me look at survey results, and I'm using this count function, which just counts the number of responses. Let me just see. No worries, Amelia. I see you said you think you're wrong, so that makes 2 of us. Cool. Okay, so I'm looking at this. If you have used R, how have you learned it? Please check all that apply. Because this isn't all that apply, you can see people have multiple responses. So for example, here I have college university course, but then here I have college university course, comma, in-person workshop. So I actually need to count this one twice. So I'm going to need to do a little bit of data wrangling here to separate these. And I'm going to use the separate rows function. What that enables me to do is exactly in these types of questions where I'm getting multiple responses, but I want to count them individually, I'm going to take those multiple responses and put them in their own rows. So I'm going to tell it which column, which variable to use, and then I have to tell it what's the separator. Oh, geez, you know what I just realized? Well, okay, let me try this. So now you can see that I have separated this just kind of scrolling through and looking at this. Thank you, whoever wrote that. So here's the issue that I realized. Let me show this again. When I'm trying to separate it, I also have, I think it might just be here actually. I have my own comma I don't actually want to separate that out. So what it's separating, for example, books, you can see like it's thinking about this as a separate item because there's a comma here, but I don't actually want that to be separate. So let me show you. So you can see, for example, books, close parentheses there. So let me look back at my results and think about how I might do this. My first inclination is honestly just to remove that text, because that was really just to explain it to people, but I don't really need it for myself. And I think that's the only place where I have that. Yeah, so let me try that starting out. So I'm going to do mutate if you, and I'm going to use the STR remove all function. So what this is going to do is it's going to look for some text, and if it finds that text, it's just going to remove it. So the text that, first I have to give it the variable to look in. And then the text that it's going to look for is that. So let me actually, whoops. All right, I think this is starting to, let me look back at my survey and see what the questions looked like. Sorry, if you hear anyone snoring, that's my dog over there. Diego. All right, let's see. So just looking through this, it's starting to get better. I still have that, which I probably want to get rid of. Wait, do I have that? I'm just wondering why I have this on my own using paid resources. Yeah, Fabio is suggesting using regular expressions, which, to be honest, I'm terrible at, so I try and avoid it if at all possible. So, you know what I might just do? Hold on, I'm just looking. All right, I'm just going to do basically the same thing and get rid of a couple other. I'm not really sure why it's still showing up. Oh, yeah, let me try that. Thanks, Fabio. Fabio's suggestion was to escape, whoops, the brackets. So when you're searching for certain characters, and I think parentheses are included in that, you have to put these here, which escapes them, which basically tells R to look for it, because otherwise it treats these as special characters. Let me try that and see. Yeah, that worked. Thank you. It still weirdly has that online courses thing. So let me just copy this and I'll just run this again, except I think that works. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let me now, I'm just going to arrange this by, actually, sorry, I want to arrange this by n. And let me actually do it in descending order to see. Okay, I've got the NAs there. Let me just drop, I'm using the drop NA function just to get rid of any NAs. Okay, weird. It's got this twice. So what I'm actually wondering is if one of these actually has like a space after. Oh, Fabio says that count has a sort option. Ooh, cool, cool. Let me put drop NA up here. And so I'll do, let me try this. Nice. I did not know that. That's awesome. So now I have arranged it this way. So you can see though, this looks the same as this, but it's somehow counting it differently. So I'm guessing there's an extra space or something there. So let me do this. I'm just going to use mutate, and I'm going to use the STR Trim function to, I think STR Trim, let me check. I think it gets rid of stuff on either side, in front or back. I don't know what's the default. Let me just add. All right, now you can see most people. So now I just have the free resources counting as 1 because yeah, I removed any spaces so that they show up the same. All right, so it looks like most people, the most common response was using free resources. After that, it was in-person workshops, interesting, on my own using paid resources. And just as a reminder, paid resources was online courses or books, college or university course. And then there are a bunch of other responses. Now I could go through, and I may do this later on, but I could go through and actually kind of categorize these, which may be interesting. For right now, I'm just going to kind of leave it as it is because I want to cover some of the other questions. But this gives you a sense. So it looks like a lot of people are using free resources, which is how I learned and is a great way to learn. And there are a ton of free resources out there. That's great for me in terms of running a business. But it is good to know that there are also a lot of people who do in-person workshops. So it looks like that and paid resources are about the same. And again, online courses were kind of included in that. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Let me try the next question. So how people like to learn about Excel. Yeah, Fabio says that through David might be worth a separate category. Definitely. The only issue with that is I've done teaching in different ways. And so I'm not exactly sure what they mean when they say that. So I might have to think through that. All right. So this one should be simpler because fortunately, in terms of the analysis, I only allowed people to choose 1. So let me do count in. Oh man, my variable names are super long. So I did actually enable people to list an other. Let me do this. I'm going to use the rename function, and I'll just do just because it's going crazy off the page. Oh, actually, you know what? It's the responses that are super long anyway. It looks like the top response is for how that people like to learn is self-paced online courses, which is interesting. The second one is in-person workshops, 35 responses. After that is group online course with regular meetings, because I've been thinking about like how I might structure my work, structure my teaching to have those kind of regular meetings. So it looks like there's some people who are interested in that. About the same as in-person workshops. Books, yeah, a few other things. So again, I may go through later on and kind of recategorize some of these things. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that for now, because I'm actually particularly interested. Okay, I'm gonna actually, well, here, I'll put this in. So this next question about how people prefer, or sorry, why they prefer that. Well, actually, I can't count that. So I could just drop NAs. Just display the results here. So sometimes if I have an open-ended question like this and I just want to see what people say and I want to display it, I'll use, what is that? It's the, yeah. I'm going to use the paged table function. I think that's from the knitter package, so run that. Wait, what is paged? Or no, sorry, it's from the distill package, I think. No, what is it from? Our Markdown package, sorry. Cool, our Markdown, so I'll load that package, and now, yeah, so when I knit this, like, in fact, let me go ahead and just knit right when we're sitting here. Yeah, thanks, Fabio. You talked about the the DT package. That works as well. I can actually take a look here. So we can see getting the results. So you can see 182 people responded. Mean proficiency is more digits than I need. I could change that later. Can see the distribution. See how people like to learn. I might want to actually put these in paged tables as well. So what I was going to say is I will use this if I just want to be able to kind of flip through the responses. So you can see I get a table here, and I can just kind of flip through to see the responses. I'm going to actually add, just go ahead and add paged table there. All right, because that's open, like completely open-ended, I'm going to leave that for right now. Let me look at what people have actually signed up for. And I was particularly interested in this because it's one thing to say, like, I prefer to learn through online courses. It's another thing to actually sign up for an online course. And so I was interested, okay, like, have people actually signed up for courses? So what I'm going to do, it's going to be the exact same code. Because the responses here are, well, they're basically the same. I said purchase books instead of books. Oh wait, no, these are actually, it's going to be slightly different. Let me just do it. So survey results, which of, let me just look at this. Okay, so similar issues here. Because it's multiple choice, I'm going to need to do the separate rows again, and then I'm also, actually, let me see. Do any of my response options? None of the response options have commas in them, which is helpful because then I don't have to do anything there. Whoops. Separate rows. Which of the following? And I'll make my separator a comma. not separate row, separate rows. And then for my count, I'll just add that sort equals true. All right, so looking at what people have actually signed up for. Oh, it looks like I'm still getting, I think I need to do my STR Trim again. So which the following equals STR Trim, which the following, and side equals both. Let me make sure. Yeah. And let me drop NA, which of. All right. So looking at what people have done, it looks like self-paced online courses, 141 people have signed up for that. Workshops second, then books. Interesting. Not as many people have signed up for group online courses, which is interesting. And I don't know if that means, I guess what I'm thinking is like, are they not interested in that? Or is that just not offered as much? Because like self-paced online courses are much more prevalent, but I'm wondering, would people be interested in group online courses with regular meetings if that were an option? I don't know. I think the way I might find out is by looking through in more in depth some of these questions here. All right. Cool. I think the last one. Yeah. Fabio actually wrote, I'll just paste it in here so you don't need me to read it out. He wrote about how this separate rows function really helps to deal with multiple or options where people can choose multiple responses. It's so true. And of course, to work with data in that way, you also have to kind of understand the concept of tidy data, because here our unit of analysis, like when we get the data in the survey results, like if I just looked at this, each row is a respondent. But for this question, I don't need each row to be a respondent. What I need each row to be a response. And each respondent can have multiple responses. So it makes sense then to use that separate rows function to get each response on its own row. And I think that way because I have thought about tidy data a lot. So, I think Fabio's right that that separate rows function makes it super easy. It's also the kind of thing, at least for me, Fabio, I don't know for you, it took really understanding the concept of tidy data to be able to even think about, potentially wanting to do that. So, cool. Let me go to the last one. Oh boy, my variable names are super long. I think if I were doing this again, I might actually shorten them at the start, but because I have all my code here already, I'm not gonna go back and do it now. So let me see, survey results. Susan asked if I have used any text analysis package to support with summarizing open-ended text. I have not. The one, whoops, sorry, that's tab on the wrong screen. The one that I would be interested in potentially is QCoder. It's intended as it says here, a lightweight package to do qualitative coding. So all the images are broken. In any case, this allows you to do that type of coding of qualitative data. There's also what's called the tidy text package, and there's a nice book, Tidy Text Mining with R. This is if you want to take a more automated approach. I don't think that would actually really make sense with my data because it's not, this is where you're getting thousands of responses and you need to, you can't do it in any kind of manual way. My data's not that big. I would probably just kind of take a look at it manually. But this tidy text package and the book that's written about it, Tidy Text Mining with R, shows how it could work. All right, so let me look at this last question. And you know what? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rename hold on, let me just do down here, survey results. Let me get the name of that variable. Whoops. All right, so now I have, just to show you, I just renamed that variable to other course interest, just so I'm not having to type out that monstrosity, the in addition, et cetera, et cetera. Cool. So I'm going to need to do a really similar thing here. I'm going to do separate rows. Oh, and let me actually look at my responses to see. Yes, I am happy because I don't have any commas here, so I can just use the separator. So I'm going to separate my rows, basically same thing, other course interest, and then sort equals true. All right, so now I can see kind of what folks are interested in. So let's see. Data cleaning looks really high on the list. High quality data visualization, inferential stats, mapping, geospatial analysis, automating reporting. Shiny a bit lower. Git and GitHub lower still. Custom ggplot theme, making your own package. Interesting. Oh, let me just drop NAs here. Cool. And so it looks like wait, data cleaning with R. Oh, that's weird. Why is that showing up twice? Let me try a STR Trim again. Other STR Trim side equals both. Oh, that's interesting. Actually, high quality data visualization went to the top. It must have been down below. Oh, that's interesting. I'm actually, okay. That actually completely changes it. Emil, your question is, what if I gather all the questions into one column? I'm not sure I exactly understand what you mean. Like all of the. Oh, I see what you mean. Like, in other words, every single question here. Yeah, I could do that. Actually, I'll show that in a second. That's an interesting idea. For right now, let's see. I'm just kind of looking back through this. Okay, looks like high quality data visualization, data cleaning. Fabio, other people are writing on, I'm broadcasting this on Twitter, on Twitch, and on YouTube. That's why you can see, I can see everyone everywhere, but if you're looking like you're on Twitch, you can only see folks on Twitch. Cool. And then it looks like I asked people if they want to kind of put in their own responses, and it looks like folks have that. So cool. That's actually helpful. So it looks like data visualization, which is something I'm interested in. So that's good. Data cleaning. All right, cool. That gives me some food for thought. I'm going to actually take this idea that Emil had, which was to take a new approach. So basically pivot my data longer. So for example, actually, let me do this though. Well, you know what, Emil? The only thing I'm thinking, I think what you're saying is basically I'm doing the same thing over and over on multiple variables. So if I make my data longer, I'll be able to do it in a much more efficient way, which I think is true. The only issue is that I'm doing slightly different things. So for example, sometimes I'm doing the, sometimes people have multiple responses. Sometimes people don't. So I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, I'm going to have to think about, let me think about that. I actually think I'm going to skip doing that for now. I totally get where you're coming from. I'd have to think through about like how that would work with slightly different types of data. Cool. So this gives me a sense. Let me just add paged table. Just make sure I have page table on all of them because I'm OCD. Let me just actually do round mean proficiency level digits equals 1. Let me go ahead and knit this again. Oh. So I just want to kind of look back at the output. Oh, whoops! I refreshed the wrong page. Sorry if anybody just put a chat in for me. I may have missed it. Yeah. So now I have kind of all of my data here in these kind of fancy tables. Let me look at one thing with distill. I like this wider. Look. So let me just do that really quick. I think I could actually probably change this up above and for everything, but one nice thing about this still is it lets you make your chunks, the output show up wider, so you can see, for example, that's wider, that's wider. Give it just a second. Okay, it looks like it's done. Yeah, so now I have my tables wider so I can see. So this gives me like a really good kind of overview of my data. Obviously, there's a lot more I could do with it. You know, I could potentially visualize some of this data more. I was really just displaying it in tables. I could go back and think about some of this and categorizing it. But it's a really good start, and it kind of shows you how you can work from survey data and start to get a sense of it. One thing I'd love to do, if there's anybody who did not, hold on one second, not do the survey before, would you go, I just shared a link on Twitter, on Twitch, and on YouTube. I would love it if someone would actually go do that because I had, actually, you know what, I could do it right now. I have 181 observations here, but it looks like there are 182 responses. I would love it too if someone, let me just wait a second, someone who did not fill it out before is watching, if you would go and just do this again. Let me refresh this and see if I've gotten any new responses. Because let me just wait a second. What I'm going to demonstrate is that you can like automatically, now regenerate this report, and that will give you new data. Looks like I still got 182. Maybe everyone who's on this actually did it before. Let me give it just a minute more, see if anyone does it. Otherwise, I'll just wrap it up. All right, one last look. Still at 182. Well, okay, trust me that if someone else were to add data, I could easily rerun this. Cool. So this kind of gives me a sense. I think overall, what I'm thinking is that it looks like my audience, it definitely skews more towards the beginner side of things, which is as I would expect. Though actually slightly more advanced in a lot of ways than I was expecting, which is great because I have some ideas for how I might support folks like that. Looks like most people are learning through free resources, which is how I learned as well. In-person workshops as well. In terms of how people say they like to learn, they say they like to learn through self-paced online courses and in-person workshops. And I'll look about why. In terms of which they've actually signed up for, self-paced online courses and in-person workshops seem like the biggest two, which is good because those are things I have offered. And then this really gives me a good sense of what types of things people might be most interested in learning about: the data visualization, the data cleaning, and automating reporting with R Markdown, as well as inferential stats are things that are up there. Cool. I think that is it. Yeah, so I appreciate everyone joining me. If you have any questions or feedback, I would love to hear it. Otherwise, I will go ahead and turn off the stream in just a second. And yeah, thanks again, everyone, for joining.